Quit eating, folks, 30 seconds to showtime. Grab your seat, leave your drinks to the bar. Hold your breath, put your hands together. We present Stanford Bay's finest star, who has danced with the Mayor of New Guinea, who has dined with the Queen of Vermont. We trace the voyages of Sinbad, corresponded with the men who can't love us to be. C'est pas la même chose que la vache qui rit. La vache est fort, mon ami.
And hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the G Spot. My name is Geoff with a G, and tis the season time. Me and my good friend Chris Christ is right here, where he comes by every few weeks. We're going to chat about some fun stuff about sideshow. He's a sideshow legend, so we're going to talk about some fun stuff. If you have questions, please put them into the chat. For people who are not signed in to doing stuff for Twitch, please do so. It is free to sign up and follow the channel. There's lots of other cool stuff going on. Put it in the chat, and we'll get going from there. So how are you doing today, Chris? Are you doing okay?
I'm doing just great, and I hope everybody would like to start off by wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You know, stay well, stay safe, stay happy.
Yes, very much so. Stay safe. That's been my mantra. Like whenever I deal with anybody, they're going, "Oh, have a great day." I go, I automatically do, stay safe, because it's just, I can't promise you happiness, but I can hopefully you can get the safe part of it. So
yeah. Well, we'll all stay well and get through this thing, and business will go back to. When I say back to normal, that's going to take a little time.
Well, there's a new normal now, and so there'll be a new type of normal.
It's going to be like after 9/11. After 9/11, some things were never the same.
Yeah, and that's very true.
And now this is just making some things go faster than they were going to go to eventually. Eventually, we were going to have less brick and mortar retail and more online selling, and now this just made it more rapid.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And then lots of entertainment shifted from being live to going online, still being live, but rather than being in person, going online and doing stuff like we're doing now.
Yeah, and some people are selling shows online. I don't know how well that's doing.
I've been to a few of. I've seen a few, and they're probably doing as well as like a small bar show that you would do like in a place. For at least people I know do.
I have not seen any, but I can just imagine that some people do not have the skills nor the equipment to do it properly. The show is fine, but the tech is going to be a little wanky.
That's it's been a steep learning curve for all of us when trying to adapt and doing stuff. That's why I started doing this, because I can't do the regular stuff. So I went, all right, cool. I'll just talk to people about stuff, and it's been great that we connected and to talk about things, because
I really enjoy doing this. So I thank you for having me. One little Christmas story.
Okay.
You know, the showman's clubs across the country, and there's not that many of them left, because their numbers were based on independence, and there's not the independence in the business. We've gotten into the big box carnival business. Like, you know, there's 3 or 4 carnivals control 80% of the big fairs in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all different. But I remember, you know, Tampa Club used to have a huge underprivileged handicapped kids Shriners Christmas thing, and Johann Peterson was always a Santa Claus.
That would make sense. So that's really awesome, though.
Yeah, because I worked it like 3 times with the chimpanzee, and that brings me into a non-circus story. We were in St. Louis with the Royal American, and they were going to the Shriners Hospital, and they wanted a couple of acts and stuff. So they asked me to bring the chimp. So I'm sitting there in the room with the chimp, and the kids all see the chimp sitting on my lap. And then they unceremoniously throw me out of the building because they say, well, you can't have any animals in the building. So I left. But the one thing that I didn't get that everybody else got, and I didn't say anything about it, was a beautiful certificate, the Royal American certificate of, thank you. That would have been something I would have liked to have for my memorabilia.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought it was kind of silly. He'd been in there for a half an hour. Why didn't they say put him on right away and then get him out of here? We're going to work him for 5 minutes and.
Yeah, it's like they booked you for that act, but you couldn't do the act. That's
see, and we used to do that. We used to do that a lot in the South with the Gooding's $1 Million Midway. They would use the girl show, and everybody would contribute. The sideshow put in a couple acts. The magician from the girl show would work. The jig show would send somebody over. The guy with the monkey speedway would bring a couple monkeys over, and we do, just to put together a little show for the kids, and they give them hot dogs and so on, and then take them around to the rides.
mm-hmm.
We did that all in almost every spot in the South. And here at the Gibtown Club, they have a huge underprivileged kids birthday, or not birthday, Christmas thing. It's handicapped and underprivileged kids, and they probably get 600-700 kids, and they didn't do it this year because of the COVID, and I think that the people that were bringing them were the ones that pulled out.
Yeah.
They're not, or it was a mutual thing. And they didn't have the regular one for the show kids. We're not having the circus this year. We may have it later in April.
Well, if everything goes well, I look forward to because that's on my bucket list is to make my way down to go catch the show whenever it opens up again. And so if it's April should be more than enough time for everybody to get everything together.
I'm talking about the circus in Gibsonton, the charity circus we do.
That's also still good. I'm down for all of that. So,
as I call it, and this is an original, Gib Toilet, the septic tank of the world, the only place to get flushed. Our paper, by the way, is called the Daily Flush.
Oh, really? That's hysterical. No, that's really interesting thing, especially with the kids and stuff like that. And then of course Johan Peterson for the other show with being Santa Claus. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
And he did that for years and years.
That's
I think I did the thing three times. Maybe more than that, because I did it like 3 times with the chimp. I might have done it a couple times with throwing some knives or something. And Ward used to do the ventriloquist stuff. Dick Johnson do magic and.
Oh, Dick Johnson.
Yeah, well, he was my very best friend. 2 days ago was the 3rd anniversary of his passing. Think about him every day. Him and I were like brothers.
No, I got into like part of what I do for the show, like the show I do is I do a little sideshow history thing. So I always research stuff. Like when Bev Bergeron died last week, and so I talked about him.
That was a friend of mine too. Yeah. I've known Bev since 1967. I met him the time we played Atlanta, Georgia, and in the exhibit building, they were doing like 4 30-minute shows a day. That's when the Magic Land of Alakazam was on television every week, and it was sponsored by Coke, which obviously comes from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And through a mutual friend, I got introduced to Bev. So I've known him that long. He was 90 years old.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like because one of the other Facebook groups I follow, um, Todd Robbins posted about it.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, and so I deep dove into him. I deep dove into Beth Bergeron because I kind of knew who he was from the Magic stuff, not so much for the clown. I wasn't even realize he was a clown or like was like a Ronald McDonald from back in the day. And so I just like really deep dove, and it was really
But
really
then he
fascinating.
was, around Mark Wilson when Mark Wilson was just hustling around,
Hmm.
and Ward knew him from Houston because Ward used to winter in Houston. So
Yeah, back when circuit, I tell people like because I lived in Houston for like 18 years, and I keep telling people that for a long time, a lot of the smaller circuses would winter in that Houston Beaumont area, and they're going, "What?" I go, "Yeah, the city of South Houston was built by elephants," and talked about what's his name who from his circus, and he became mayor and built roads with the elephants he had, and so it was really fascinating. Huh.
well, and then a lot of them used to winter in San Antonio,
Hmm.
like
As well.
Bierman Brothers that Dick Johnson was the manager of, and back in '64, something like that.
And Cells Floto used to winter in the Houston area as well. So sometimes, or at least one of their circuses
But
did.
Hall was a great circus historian, not me. I love the
I
circus
just,
business. I love the circus business. I like the circus people. I'm not a great guy to go sit and watch circuses. I enjoy visiting. I remember visiting, and Dr. Miller was such a nice guy, and I saw him move that big thing in 48 minutes. They had that thing down, and the trucks lined up for the next morning.
oh wow.
I mean, that was the best organized thing you've ever seen. And it was on a beautiful grass lighted, beautiful night,
Hmm.
And there's probably the nights that they were out there till till the middle of the night. But we all have those when you're in the mud, and you know, people don't realize the difference. Especially when they do movies or television, circuses and carnivals. Uh, they'll mix them together, or they don't realize the difference. They call a carnival a circus and a circus a carnival.
Hmm. Well, yeah, because I mean, there's similarities, but I figure there's some really distinct differences between a because I think the influence as far as where the entertainment's actually derived from the audience, like Carnival, it's about the rides and the shacks versus the circus, where it's all about the tent and the stuff.
Well, and it's
Am I?
also that the circus moves every day, and the carnival moves back then every week. They do. A lot of them don't do one night stands anymore. But what's
Yeah.
left? But there's it's 38 weeks of one night stands, and you get so numb on a circus that they'll say, "Where were you yesterday?" Say, "I don't know." "Where are you going tomorrow?" "I don't know." "Where are you today?" "I don't know." I mean, it just gets to be,
It's that grind.
yeah. But if in my career I could have done as well in the circus business as I did in the carnival business, I never would have went to a carnival. I love the circus business.
Hmm.
I think part of it, you know, fits in with my lifestyle. You get up at 5:30 in the morning, you move the show, you get it up, you eat your lunch, take a nap, get up, do the show, get it back down. You're done by 11:30 at night, and you go to bed. That's just, I'm a napper, so I get up at 6 in the morning, but I have to have my half-hour nap,
Hmm.
and maybe 45 minutes at this point in life, since everything's wearing out. Are we getting anybody on the?
I think Kevin is said he wants to. He's trying to. I think he's gonna. Yeah, I think he's gonna send me a pic. So,
Who, Jerome?
yeah, I think he's basically. I think he has a pic of Johanna Santa. So I was gonna post that in a second. Hot Todd Lincoln's in the chat. Hello, Hot Todd Lincoln. Good to see you're watching stuff. We're getting people starting to flood in now. I guess they're running a little bit late. Thank you guys for tuning into the show. This is me and Chris on the show talking about cool sideshow stories. And so, if you have anything that particular act you want to have him talk about, any weird stories,
My life is a
whatever.
weird story. My life is a weird story.
Mine too. I think that's why we've become friends. Is because we have weird stories. We have weird
Well,
lives.
I think the difference, and it's different than the people in the business today. When I was young, and through my, this was not just a job. This was not just a vocation. It was an avocation.
Mm-hmm.
It was a way of life.
Yeah,
it's a little different now. But the only thing constant in the world is change. There are some guys my age that are so bitter toward the business because of the changes. And I said, yeah, I can't understand that. Everything changes.
Remember those times when you were young and you had the old guys yelling at you because of the new things you were doing? That's because that's the same. It's just it's very cyclical. No, I came into the business kind of late in life. I've only been like part of it for the past few years because I had weird life circumstances and I kind of fell into it. And I can't imagine doing anything else but than talking with people and doing whatever I can do to figure stuff out because it's like finding purpose in my life again once I suffered a tragedy. So I'm happy and I love doing it. And I get to meet people like you and like Hot Todd Lincoln and whatnot and chat with people. And so it's been really, really good.
Yeah, and tell Jerome he's a putz.
I believe. Well, he can hear you, so you can tell him directly.
He's a very close friend. That's a running gag. That's running. That was not a real insult. That was a running gag.
Oh no, I'm sure if it was a real insult, we'd wait until we were off the air and then you would tell me that. So I figured.
No. We have a couple little running gags between us.
No, that's good. We have quite a few people in the chat. But they're being very, very quiet. So because you've been behind the scenes helping book shows and stuff like that, along with doing performing and stuff as well. Hey, Minch the Winch. Hey, good to see you on the chat. Happy to have you part of the stuff. Thank you for everything you do can support not just me and the channel and this guy right here, but also with the Southern Sideshow Hootenanny, which is I deal with a lot too. So thank you. And if you guys have any questions, please drop in the chat. Until then, we may have talked this about before, and but I may not have explicit or in certain ways. What act or person did you most enjoy seeing, or at least hanging out with? I mean, other than probably Ward would probably be the easy one. So not Ward.
Well, Dick Johnson.
Oh, Dick, yeah, that's right. He's your best friend.
He was my very closest friend.
Yeah. By the way, there's a movie called Dick Johnson is Dead, which came out a couple years ago that was made by his daughter, which is kind of like that was all filmed before he died. It's a really good documentary. I recommend everybody check that out. It's on Netflix. So yeah,
we're not talking about the same Dick Johnson. There was never a documentary made about him.
Maybe let me give you a second. I thought maybe it's not. Johnson's father, Richard. Maybe it's not. It seemed.
It's Richard A. Johnson. I think his middle name is Arthur.
Oh, no, it is. I apologize. It is the wrong Dick Johnson because I pulled up everything to look about Dick Johnson. Because Dick Johnson said, no, this Dick happens to be not the same Dick. This Dick is a retired psychologist.
I would know. I would know if they had done something like that.
No, because I was pulling at some stuff about him, and that was like everything. I go, Dick Johnson, and all it is about that movie. So I went,
Yeah.
oh, very cool. Like, I was not aware of this because it just came out. So I was going, oh, that's kind of cool that they just released a movie about the guy. But no. Oh, well. I am a horrible researcher. I blame
No. But I mean, it's just something that I didn't think. I would have known about it. It was, or probably been part of it.
Most likely, yes. I would think. I mean, if you're being best friend and all and whatnot, you would have probably even brought up the movie on its own.
It's probably, when I was a kid, and I was only 19 years old when Dick joined the show, and he used to rib me just something terrible. Just because, and I ended up with a sense of humor just like him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got it from learning to fight back verbally, and and of course we're both magic nuts, so that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, actually, Mensch the Wench is actually saying tell more stories about your really good friend Dick. I mean, what's some really fun, goofy stories that he might slap you funnily at you, but not like actually slap you. Like those kind of don't tell that story, but kind of tell that story sort of stories.
Well, trying to think of it. I got some good stories, but I can't tell them.
Not on the air, anyways.
I know.
That'll be on Chris Christ's OnlyFans account. Is just him telling these
Yes,
stories.
I can't think of anything right now that really is outstanding. We just enjoyed each other's company. We were both boxing enthusiasts, so we used to watch the fights together a lot. We had a lot of common interests.
Oh, that's very cool.
He was one capable guy. He could do anything. I mean, we were partners in a show, three-way thing with me and Hall and him for 12 years. And it was a very good relationship. His ex-wife just turned 89 today.
Oh, wow.
And Dick would have been 92 days ago.
Wow, that's first off 89. I mean, once you get past that 70 mark, it gets very impressive. Happy birthday, Mavis, which is Kevin's.
Yeah, right.
Yes, it's unlikely she's gonna be watching this, but happy birthday, Mavis.
Oh, I don't think she'd be watching.
On that off chance,
she's probably when the band starts, she starts to dance. She's probably at the Moose Club, the Moose Lodge dancing.
Oh, okay.
Because she had that property forever, and she finally sold that and got a little place in Sun City, and she didn't need that big property to maintain.
No, that's trying to find some other fun stuff we can talk. I know we kind of talked about him last time, but I know you ended up touring with him a lot. And we kind of brought him up earlier because we talked, Johan Peterson. It's probably the giant you know best. Would you say that?
You just reminded me of a quick story. Before I forget it, I'll tell it.
Go ahead. This is
Dick Johnson. The first year he was there, he was doing the magic pitch in the show, and Dave Ballard, the giant, was taking the bus back to the hotel, and he told me, he said, because it was getting late, he said, this was in Knoxville, Tennessee. He said, tell Johnson not to pitch this time. There was only 8 people in there or something at the end of the night. And tell Johnson not to pitch this time because I want to make the bus. And Dick heard it, and I knew what he was going to do. He did the world's longest magic pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Just aggravate Dave. But I remember we were in Atlanta, Georgia, and that used to be now this is in the 67, 68, 69. The two Saturdays were the biggest days of the season. They were like $3,400 days, but we were still at a quarter and 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of people. And he had like an almost $200 day on a magic pitch going for a quarter, which is, amazing. I don't tell those stories too much because people don't correlate the difference in the money. And
Well,
money is only numbers. What can you do with it? What can you buy with it?
mm-hmm.
What can you produce with it? That's the buying power is all that matters.
Mm-hmm. Very true. So in the chat, so how it's more about what's happening today. How is the mood? How is the mood right now in Gibtown, especially considering what would essentially be the upcoming season? Because the Florida State Fair got pushed back to April. Some stuff got pushed back even farther back than that. How's everybody coping down there?
Well, I don't talk to that many people, but I think everybody's you know going to get through this thing, and they're coping with it. Uh, I hear now this is rumor stuff. West Palm Beach is going to push too, which only makes sense. You go from West Palm Beach to Tampa, and Tampa hasn't set their dates in April in concrete yet.
Mm-hmm.
The trade show in Gibsonton, they tell me they're going to have it, but I think it's going to be a scaled down version. I don't see a lot of people coming from out of town. People aren't going to be buying anything but essentials, and they can do that on the internet. That
Yeah.
trade show was a big thing in the 80s and the late 70s, 80s, 90s. But now with the internet and stuff, it's something that 10 years from now is going to go away. It's just, with the change of times.
I think at that point, for that sort of stuff, it's going to be whatever you're going to go for, whatever the innovation is, which you'll need to see live. But like the tried and true, like I can get my blah 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 anywhere. It's getting the new thing, which you'll have to see live. So it may still exist, but it'll exist in a weirder sort of way.
It's just not going to. Let's say it'll still exist, but it's going to morph.
Yeah, that's because that's the only thing that's the only thing that's constant is change. So
who just said?
That was
my favorite lines.
Pardon me?
That's one of my favorite lines.
Oh, the only thing constant is change?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite too.
Or everything will be all right when Humpy straightens up. And now you don't know what that means to you.
That name, it's one of those things I've heard the phrase before, but it's
I'll explain it to you.
Please.
You're back in the early 1900s, maybe in 1920s. They were mostly Jewish guys, and they were little skinny guys, and they used to work a set spindle, and they would lean over their whole life over the set spindle, and they would get humpback, and they used to say, well, everything will be all right when Humpy straightens up.
Okay. Yeah, I think
I said that one time around the show. Everybody looked at me and said, "Who's Humpy?" But I'm old school, or I was trained old school. Mm-hmm. I was a 16, 17-year-old kid getting trained by guys that were 50 years old. So I was trained old school. So I remember we played the livestock show in Houston, had a bad storm. And me and a guy that lived there, we were scrounging a surplus hardware store. We'd come out and it was blacker than hell, we raced and got back there, and they had everything pretty well ready, and we rode it out. And all of a sudden, I realized after it's all over, one guy never came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't say nothing. I waited till that night, and I asked him. I said, "Did that thunder and lightning bother you?" And he said, "Yeah, well, it woke me up, but I went right back to sleep." And all I could see in my mind were these older guys who were my mentors. That if I would have done that as a 17-year-old kid, they would have flipped me upside down and bounced me on my head down the stairs. And I mean, my only answer to him it was, I'm glad it didn't bother you too bad.
That yes. Well, yeah, no, Houston. Yeah, you'd lived through the nasty storms pretty quick. As one who's lived through quite a few of them.
Well, I've been through a bunch in my life. Never dumped one. Never dumped one. I had times when I should have went, but I was always taught that you put in the doubles, the extras, the storm guys, everything is part of the setup. You don't wait till the storm's coming, and you're ready for it. And it's a lot easier to keep it up than pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trained that way. So, and when you break the crew in, if they know you double the ends, you double the lace lines, and the long sticks on the ends and the lace lines and all that, they'll do it automatically because that's part of they don't question it. It's part of what you do.
Mm-hmm. We just had a new person come in, Murrigan 714. I believe this might be Murrigan the Mystic. The jackpots, loving the jackpots. He's making the comment, so not sure what that's.
We're just kind of winging it tonight, guys. So.
Oh yeah, we're just chatting about whatever, which is why I'm going. All right, cool. It's so fun. So if you have any questions or comments you want to make concerning like any stuff like that with the amazing Chris Christ sideshow legend, please drop in the chat. Otherwise, and I was correct, Murrigan the Mystic. Good, awesome.
Is Jerome still on there?
I believe so. Yes.
He's still a putz.
I mean, he hasn't made like anything yet. He just goes copy.
Yeah, it's he's laughing because it's one of those things.
No, I think yes, he's a putz. Yeah. And just tell Grandma I love him.
Who said that?
Oh, that was Jerome.
That was Jerome. Tell him he's an old washwoman. He'll know what that means. Old washwoman.
Well, the fact is, you don't have to be like
hiding behind a union card.
Ooh, okay.
This is stuff we go back. Him and I go back and forth all the time.
Well, I know you guys are working together for some stuff that hopefully be out this year. So that
this year's been a mess. You would think that having the extra time and stuff that you would be getting more things done and so on, but mentally it doesn't put you in the mood to want to do certain things. It's psychologically, this thing has done a lot of damage to a lot of people. I mean, you work your way through it, but if people like me, who spent their whole life in an ever-changing situation, become bothered and annoyed by the isolation and so on, you can imagine what it does to families and people that are used to a 9-to-5 cubicle world,
No, it's been a rough thing for everybody. Like me, I'm the got to be around people, so I this is the closest thing I could be to being around people because I want to be a responsible individual. So I started doing internet shows. I learned how to do internet shows just so that way I was not left alone. So and but it's been good for all this sort of stuff has been in a weird sort of way. It's been kind of good because this sort of stuff has been helping bring more like the community has been getting together more often because we're not doing nobody's doing shows, so they have time to actually meet people up and
I
chat and
don't
stuff
know.
like that. So
Is everything closed in Texas?
it's like Texas is so big, so it's parts and it's levels uh, of closing. So like here in Austin, because I live here in Austin, we are it's like 25% open, but um, sorry, so we got a weird person in the chat. I'm trying to get rid of. 1 second. Bots. I love bots. Uh, so okay. So yeah, Houston. Like right now in Austin, we're about like we're at stage like Texas is at stage 4. So businesses can be open 25 to 50%. Bars are open-ish. I know people who are like I've got performer friends who are performing uh, ish, like small stuff like the burlesquers and some of the talk show people. I like a lot of the singer songwriters I know, but nothing big. But that's just, and I think that's pretty much where everybody's at. California's all pretty much shut down, from my understand.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, so's Michigan, so's Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut.
oh yeah, New York
Down,
just like
down here, they've got some counties like here that, because I don't go to bars, but that you have to be seated. You can't be standing at the bar. You can't be walking around the
right.
bar. And uh, and I think that's part of the reason the Florida State Fair moved, because this governor is getting so much federal heat for leaving this thing wide open that something's going to happen, because our
Well,
positivity rate is 10, 12,000 people a day, and the positivity rate is over 10%. So they just can't, keep doing this Wild West thing.
that's Texas is a pretty similar boat. Where Austin, the county's really been really good, but but we're the exception, not the rule to most of the state outside of the Houston area. So it's one of those. We're okay here, but I drive an hour north or south, and then things are crazy again. So I don't know. What else? Garone basically says the book is over half written, and basically says, basically he's gonna get back on with you next week to really get into it, so you guys can have the book done. I look forward to reading it. So because you guys talk, but just being lazy, which is fair. It happens. Uh,
Well, he's been
uh,
working a lot he's been working a lot of overtime at the factory, and we were hoping that he would get down here for the trade show, where he was planning to
yeah.
come down, so we could spend a couple of we could finish this thing in 2 days if we had 2 days to spend together.
Well, you're now get to be an old hat at how to do the Zoom stuff, so you should be able to to be taking care of it. No, it'll get done when it gets done. The longer it takes means that's how much better the book's going to be. That's what I think.
Well, I've
So
taken some of the stuff that we have put together, and then as I read it, I thought about how did I feel at that time, to put more of a personal touch into it.
yeah. And be forewarned, like it or not, he'll be there in February. So if you need to skedaddle in February, let me know and you can hang out with me. Um,
Oh, no, no, no. Tell him I'm looking for, well, he can hear me.
yeah,
Tell him I'm
yeah, he
looking
can hear you.
forward to it.
Yeah, no, I just Mitch the Winch is asking for those people who have not been to Gibtown, myself included, uh, how many how many show folks still live out that way? Is it still a pretty quote unquote sizable number, or is it just a couple of handful of people now because
Yeah, it's
Vegas?
not. You know, back when I moved here in 1967, it was probably 80%.
Hmm.
Now it might be 10% because Tampa had to grow to the south, and there's all kinds of housing developments and so on. Because that was the only sensible commute part. We were the last part to get developed. So,
Okay,
and plus, there's not all the independence. The business, the dynamics of the business has changed.
that's very true. I know there's several of the I want to call the '90s kind of the '90s resurgence of sideshow. A lot. There's quite a few of those people who live here in Austin that have all but retired, and then I know a lot of people go to Vegas,
Well,
and
but we're talking about, most of the stuff today is all nightclub stuff, and
true,
that's fine. It's morphed into that,
yeah,
and that's a fine outlet. I'm not being critical of it. Certainly, everything changes, but the old fashioned way that we did it is about gone. I mean, Tommy works his as a free act, so they get paid every day, and it's a different world.
hmm,
And because of the business dynamics, you couldn't cut it around the carnival anymore. It's just a different world.
true. Yeah, the most of the carnivals I see, I like the carnivals I almost see is just strictly rides and food. I don't think I've seen a tent act in Texas.
No,
Uh,
you don't. There's very few shows around anymore. And when
yeah,
I
like
broke into business, I remember we played Knoxville, Tennessee, and I remember we had 22 shows
hmm,
and some big stuff. Motordrome, a big Valley and Sideshow, Valley and Monkey Speedway, a jig show, a girl show. You know, but it
yeah,
was a different world then, a different time.
hmm, yeah, the Motordrome shows and like the Monkey Speedway stuff that would never exist now. Especially the Monkey Speedway. Uh, I
Well,
think the
Jack,
wheel of
Jack, the guy that had the Motordrome on the $1 Million Midway, Jack
mhm,
Hatcher, had a big. His wife Daisy used to get in the bottle a little. God bless her, but she'd run off to help.
mhm,
He'd start to break somebody in. When he'd leave the lot for something, she'd fire him. And I remember one night in Knoxville, and when he was working alone, his finish was he had a big chimpanzee, and he would take him up in the sidecar.
mhm,
And as soon as that sidecar hit she, later at night she'd been in the cups a little, and the minute that sidecar she could hear it hit the bottom. She'd holler out, "Jack, get out here in the valley, you son of a bitch." Well, he didn't have time to get the chimp out and put him back in the cage. They were wonderful people. But and we all had a lot of camaraderie, and that's gone. There's not the camaraderie in the business that there was.
it's changed, at least for the nightclub acts as you were. There are a lot of us who, I mean, we do. I mean, well, you've even been on it. There's a weekly chat, weekly kind of like Zoom like hangout for a
Your
lot of
Friday
people.
night thing.
Friday night things that we just so people check in to make sure everybody's doing okay and telling stories and stuff like that. But it's
But
all the but
if you were to break down on the road when I was young, 10 people would stop. You could turn it upside down now, and not one person would stop.
That's pretty true. Yeah, I mean, depending on where you're at, but yeah, for the most part, you might get some. Yeah, yeah, you'll have like 30 cars pass by, but you might get one. But yeah, I get it.
No, I mean, no, I mean of show people.
Yeah,
It's just a different world. That's all. The whole
yeah,
world's changed.
it is, and it's changing again. And I'm hoping that at least what I have seen so far is the fact is that it's because everybody's taking their time. They can't do anything. They're reaching out and doing stuff, and so like the Friday night chats where everybody getting a hold of. Which if you're part of the Southern Sideshow Hootenanny, you can be a part of it and jump in. I can drop you a line, Murray, again, because we'd probably love to have you on the chat one week. Or whenever. But it's I think that's been the thing that I think has been noticing is because of the pandemic, people are getting the chance to actually get to know each other, other than the all right, just get done with the gig. We're hanging out for like 3 hours, and then we're all gone again for 6 months, a year, 2 years. And so it's been good creating that bond, which I've liked and I've seen.
Of course, the one thing that's a lot different personally for me is you have to remember I started off as a 15-year-old kid, and I was trained by guys that were in their 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah,
So so many of my friends are gone.
true, but
My group of friends were always older than me.
yeah, that's I know how that is. For a long time, I was the same way. Um, but you still have friends. So I mean, you got this guy right here, and then of
Oh
course
yeah, yeah, but
Jerome, and
yes, I understand. But you know what I mean. I've
yeah.
lost so many that had the commonality with me.
Oh, I understand it because you came up together in a certain sort of
Well,
way. So
yeah, and we had the same interests, and that part of the business doesn't exist anymore. So
yeah,
basically,
that's very very true. We've only got a few minutes left, so if anybody wants to drop in some chats, like any questions, or if you have, if you want to drop a line for to spur the memory of the great and wonderful Chris CM here, we'll do such a thing. Until then,
ask Jerome if he's got any intelligent questions.
okay, I think you got that, Jerome. As the chat is
That's
very
my
quiet
brother.
at the moment. Uh, but no worries. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. Chris pops on about every 6 or so weeks, so we can chat about various stuff like that. Today we wanted to make it nice and casual. We had told a couple of little Christmas stories, but kind of just wanted to make it free and stuff like that. I think next time I think we're going to talk about something specific. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I personally,
we'll pick out a specific topic the next time.
if you guys want to throw in something in the chat real quick about a big subject, that Chris can talk about for hours about, which is really what we
Yeah,
want.
yeah,
Throw that in
that
the
would be
chat, or
great if you could get your viewers to put in suggestions, and you could let me know. You could
I'll
let
line
me
that
you
up.
can let me know what they'd like to hear about, and I can put together something so we can do a whole hour on one thing.
Yeah. Because you talked about, did you, because when I was talking about earlier, but I talk a lot about sideshow history stuff on my other show. One of the ones that popped up, because you talked about the monkey cage and stuff like that. Hazel Eaton, did you work with her at all?
No.
Or Hazel, yeah, because like she did a lot of Mordecai stuff, and then she retired and like ran flea circuses and her own circus stuff for a while. So I just was curious, as
No.
I'm going to these people that fits.
Sure.
Yeah, like, but I mean, she would have probably been like towards your beginning of your career. She would have been phasing out, so it's not surprising you probably didn't interact.
No.
Uh, and then what else? Because there's like one other. There's one other more recent. Not recent, but it's because I try to outside of Bev, I try to keep everything at least 40 or 50 years old, just because.
I started in '64, so
Yeah. Yeah, not him. No, that's my monologue. I want to. But where did my history go? Hazel, no. So, anyways, I can't find the other person I wanted to talk about because
that's
I find it
nice.
interesting. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Free Collector. Wow. Yes, he has nothing important to say, Marika. Thank you guys once again. So let me get through the plugs for everything like that. So on Monday, myself and Scabs the Clown will be on the channel here at 7:30 Central Standard Time to talk about like weird Christmas myths and stuff like that. We have a show called Gaffing the Truth where we look at things like conspiracies and cryptids and stuff like that, and just kind of have fun with that and talk about it. And of course, with the chat. Then Wednesday, I do the Devil's Hour, which is my weekly variety show with music and variety entertainment and weird videos. Next Saturday, so a week from today, is another edition of the Give the Hoot, which is the monthly kind of fundraiser show, which has a lot of amazing performers. Captain and Maybell are the hosts for the show, who I believe you know, Chris.
Yeah.
They said they're not in the chat, but when I told them that you were going to be on the show, they wanted to make sure just to tell you hello.
Yes.
So
And hello
Captain
to them.
Maybell, say hello. Along with a lot of other acts like Pickles LeVay, the Clown Town, New Orleans, and lots of other really fun stuff. I can't remember. I think Gigi Deluxe is going to be in it, and all sorts of great stuff like that. So that'll be
Is Matthew going to be in it?
Matthew. Maybe not this one, but doesn't mean it will be a future one. I don't.
You said his wife was going to be in it. So
Captain and Maybell.
no, Dixie Delish.
I didn't say Dixie Delicious. It's Pickles LeVay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pickles LeVay. She's they're from Canada. I've actually had them on to chat with them on the show here.
Yeah.
And then the following Saturday, I'll be talking with Trav SD because he just released a book about the Rose's Royal Midget. So we're going to talk about that and all sorts of other weird stuff because I know he does a lot of like chronicling of old sideshow acts. So that should be a lot of fun. But thank you everybody for tuning.
That's stuff that some of the things that I missed out on. I never saw a midget show. I never saw an ad show. You know, some of the things that were gone before I got there.
Yeah, most of that stuff had phased out by the late 40s, I think.
Well, there was two ad shows left when I got into the business. I knew both guys that had them, but I never saw one.
That's unfortunate. That's one thing. Yeah, it's some things that just won't be like even like natural born acts are like a few and far between because of just how the world is. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in.